This is a short video on solar pathway lights or motion sensing lights, solar sensing lights, how to troubleshoot them and how to repair them. Surprisingly, all solar lights of this kind operate on 3.5 to 4 volts. So how do they get 4 volts if they're using 1.5 volt batteries, lithium batteries? Well, easily. Pathway lights generally up the voltage using electronics from the 1.5 volts to the required 4 volts. Whereas the motion sensing type lights don't do this. They require batteries that are 3.5 volts or 4 in order to operate. Since the motion sensing light has what appears to be a pen light battery, I assumed it was a 1.5 volt since the battery in there was soldered and it had Japanese writing on it or some kind of serial number, but it didn't mention anything about 4 or 3.5 or 3.75 volts. So I assumed it was a 1.5 and it wasn't working. So it wasn't until I tested the battery that I discovered that they were much higher voltage. So what did I do? At the time, I didn't have any 1.5 volt or 4 volt lithium batteries. So what I did is I took one out from a bracket from a flashlight that came with 3 small AAA batteries, and I soldered that on, and suddenly the light started working again. So I put it together with the lights on the outside inside of a medicine bottle to keep it dry, and it worked for roughly 4 days using regular AAA batteries, not lithium ones. So I went online and bought some lithium batteries, 4 volts roughly, 375, whatever. I thought they were like AA. When I got them, they were a ½ inch taller than a AA battery. So what do? Unfortunately, I purchased these online. I wasn't going to return them, so I found some way to fit them on the outside. Here you can see I mounted the light on near the door to our peacock cage. They're inside. It's hot outside. It's over 90 degrees today. But here's a close-up of that medicine bottle dangling from the bottom of the lamp, and boy, does it put out a nice light at night, and it works like it should. So this is one way you can get around it if you have an oversized battery. I guess I could have mounted it on the back with extra wiring and so forth. It's soldered and secured, but there it is, dangling and pointed south, so I get the maximum light, but it stays on all night, a lot better than actually the battery that came with it, that sometimes didn't always last all day, not just because of the clouds. So there you go. This is a different kind of motion light that had a problem and that wasn't working. When I took it apart, couldn't figure out why it wasn't working until I took the circuit out and looked at it closely, and you could see where I'm pointing my finger at that one resistor. The wire connecting it to the circuit board had burnt off. Here's a close-up. I don't know if you can see it better there, and here's another one where I show it up much closer to the right of my finger. That little resistor, the wire is burned up. I wasn't about to struggle to resolder another small piece of wire. I guess I should have used a heavier gauge wire when they made these. So I didn't keep it, I just tossed it rather than fight it. These cheap pathway lights are often not worth rebuilding, maybe changing the battery to another lithium battery you can get. if anything, the brackets that hold the battery tend to rust on them. You could try adding some cleaner to it, or sanding them, and they'll last a bit longer. But often they're not worth trying to repair. Another thing to look for with motion solar motion lights is to look for any small holes around them. They're usually there as breathers in case they overheat. What you can do when you take it apart to replace the battery, put some cotton in that hole so as to keep the bugs out, because a lot of times they'll interfere with some of the sensors in there. Check out my book, Presidential Treason of Three Stooges. It's available on Amazon. It's a real eye-opener. Thank you for watching.